It's my pleasure to be able to be here in Manchester to present Bluebird Merchant Ventures to you and bringing old gold mines back to life. There's a nice picture there of our Chief Operating Officer, Charles Barkley, who standing very gallantly inside a mine when that photograph was taken. Bluebird is all about reopening old gold mines. So we target mines where there has been significant previous historical production and where those mines have a realistic expectation of coming back into production within a 30-month period. And underground gold mines is what we focus on, and that is the expertise of our operational management. The reason that we are focused on bringing mines back into production is that we have identified that there's a significant advantage over a grassroots exploration project in that most of the exploration cost is cut out. We also understand the economics of the gold price, which is known at the time when the mine was closed, and we also are able to understand the historical production and the type of grades that were previously mined. Of course, the cost of bringing back a mine into production, it's much cheaper to refurbish an old mine than it is to build a new one. So here's the management team. Colin Patterson, who is our Chief Executive Officer. He's on a plane right now and arriving in London tonight, and we'll be road showing for several days in London this coming week. Charles Barkley, our Chief Operating Officer. Both Colin and Charlie have decades of experience in operating gold mines and reopening gold mines. The last one that Colin Patterson did a few years ago was in the Philippines, which was Apex Mines, and Colin was part of the team that acquired the mine for $7 million, and they brought it back into production, and Colin exited that company when the stock was trading close to a market cap of about $200 million, so did rather well. Doug Kerwin is one of the world's leading geologists. He's got, I think, about 20 discoveries to his name, which is quite extraordinary. And in, I think it was 2003 with Ivanhoe, he was awarded the most significant discovery of that particular year. I believe it was in Mongolia. And Doug led the exploration team in South Korea that did 3 discoveries that all went into production. Perry on the bottom right side is a mining contractor, owns a very large company that does the mining contracting work and developing tunnels and the act of mining. So we're actually on the main market of the London Stock Exchange. Our market cap is a very paltry £5.5 million at this time, so we would like to suggest that we are a significantly undervalued opportunity. South Korea is where we are, and our flagship property is the Gubong mine. South Korea is a very interesting jurisdiction, not because the Winter Olympics are currently being hosted there, but it is a place where historically there has been a lot of mining. There's about 1,400 abandoned mines in South Korea, and we find it really interesting that not too many Western mining companies have really done much there, possibly with the exception of Ivanhoe in recent years that we will get onto. So gold mining in South Korea has quite a history. The Japanese did much of the mining pre-Second World War and during the Second World War. And after the 1940s, mining was pretty much stigmatized and production began to decline. At that time, as the Korean economy was evolving and changing, the Gubong mine, which closed in 1971, was at a time when Korea was shifting its economy into electronics and into tech. And as such, mining was pretty much put down, in the wayside and forgotten in terms of the economic agenda of the government. In the 1990s, Ivanhoe, as I mentioned, brought 3 gold mines into production from a stage of discovery. And you can see a chart there of the gold production in South Korea. And that last blip there was what Ivanhoe brought into production. And here is a short video of the Gubong mine in 1967. The Gubong mine has about 9 tenements. that covers a 25 square kilometre area. So it's quite a vast mine. And you could see there that the mine closed in 1971 when the gold price was $40 an ounce. Of course, the gold price is a lot higher today. And we could see that how Ivanhoe brought mines back into production. And we entered into an agreement with an Australian listed company, Southern Gold, who had acquired a portfolio of tenements within South Korea. And we selected initially the Gubong mine to farm into, to bring it back into production. So the terms of our deal with Southern Gold was we have to spend $500,000 in the ground on the project in order to produce a feasibility on bringing the mine back into production. And upon submission of that feasibility report, we form a 50-50 contributing joint venture with Southern Gold, where we are the operators of the project. So one of the questions I get asked is, why did the Gubong mine close in 1971? People ask me, did the mine close because there was no more ore, there was no more gold, there was no more resources? It seems like a logical question to ask. Well, gold mines or mines close for predominantly three reasons. The first of which is due to catastrophic accidents that make the mine completely unsafe. The second is social events like a strike or government interference or changes in government policy. I mean, Vietnam is quite an interesting jurisdiction where they started off, I believe, with a 2% royalty on gold, and then the government put it all the way up to 15%, at which time making mining pretty unattractive, and then they tried to bring it back down. But in South Korea, we are very fortunate that there is 0% government royalty, and the government actually supports mining and will provide finance and invest into the mining or parts of your project, particularly around environmental rehabilitation and preventative measures. So the second reason mines close is social events. But the most common reason why a gold mine will close is due to low gold prices over an extended period of time. In other words, a mine ceases to become economically viable. So in 1971, when gold was $40 per ounce, they would have had to been mining rather high-grade gold to make it economically viable. So when the gold price was at $40, at some point in time, it was no longer possible to operate this mine profitably. And so the mine closed. What we know is that the mine closed in one day without any form of salvage operation, any kind of plan to basically take out all of the ore that was lying around. It closed in a day. So we've taken on the Gubong mine, which was South Korea's second largest gold mine. Official production records say about 500,000 ounces have been produced at this mine, although given the level of infrastructure that exists, I would imagine the historical production was not accurately reported and was significantly higher. So when we took on the project, the first thing in terms of bringing this mine back to life is we needed to research and all of the historical records to understand what we were dealing with. And we discovered that the Gubong mine has 120 kilometers of underground tunnels. It is absolutely enormous. So to give you the context of what that means, in today's cost, if you want to develop a new tunnel from scratch, it costs about $3,000 per meter to develop. If you want to develop a new shaft, it costs about $10,000 per meter. The Gubong mine has 120 kilometers of underground tunnels that already exist. It has shafts that already exist. We uncovered one of the shafts, which is concrete lined in perfect condition. So there is a significant cost saving to Bluebird that we don't have to develop all of these tunnels and all of these shafts because they already exist. And you can see the photograph there that was taken recently inside the Gubong mine, and you can see the condition is, the rock is pretty strong. So the other thing as we developed the project is we discovered the historical drill data that existed, and we found 17,000 meters of drilling that had been completed at Gubong. And there's some extremely high-grade drill holes that came about from that, and the mine has a depth of 500 meters. And the type of ore body that it is orogenic gold. And one of the features of orogenic gold is it normally goes down and extends to depth, normally sometimes down to about 2,000 meters. And we can see by looking at the historical drill results that the drill patterns hit structure and hit grade far extending below the 500-meter level. So this mine has significant upside in its future. The Korean Resource Corporation, which is a government body, they estimate that the remaining resources at Gubong is 2.34 million tons at 7.34 grams per ton. Now they get these grades because they look at the historical grades that were mined, and it was about 9 grams per ton that was mined at Gubong, and the recovered grade was about 7 grams per ton. So exceptionally high grade. To give you an idea of the economics of that, we think, and we are targeting, that we will be able to mine Gubong, and the cost to us will probably be about 2 grams per ton. So there is anywhere up to 5 grams per ton of pure profit in the bank as we bring the Gubong mine back into production. The infrastructure in South Korea, as you can imagine, being a first world country, is exceptional. The access to the mine is on sealed roads up to 100 meters to the mine. There's power, there's roads, telecommunications, so we haven't got to develop all of those things. So compared to a project that might be sitting in the middle of Africa, for example, where many times you have to build significant infrastructure to build the mine, all of that is in place at Gubong. So what we started to do as we started to get to grips with the project is we looked at all of the historical results and mapping, and we overlaid on Google Earth here what the tunnel infrastructure looked like. And as you can see, it is quite extensive. This was an absolutely huge mine. And this mine, if Bluebird brings this mine back into production, this is a company-making asset for the company. There are not too many gold mines in production with a £5 million market cap, and we are £5 million at the moment. And I'm very confident as we progress this project towards bringing it back into production, we're going to see a significant boost to our share price. So recently, as we started working on Gubong, the first thing we had to do was uncover all of the entrances and access points to the mine. When they closed this mine, they buried it very deep. So it took us a while to find it, and we started to discover them. And you can see there a picture of one of the adits that we've opened, and you can see some old track there. And we started to do some sampling, and you can see the results and some very, very good grades of gold there. And we found that underneath those tracks where they would have transported ore, of course gold has fallen out, and we can see there's high-grade golds still sitting there. We think there's probably 30 to 40 kilometers of track inside this mine. And so underneath these tracks it's very likely that we're going to see similar high-grade gold. We announced recently the publication of an independent competent persons report on the Gubong mine and 2 other projects within Korea. And the independent competent person suggested that Gubong still offers the potential for more than 1 million ounces of gold, and further potential beyond that. The Gubong mine has 9 stacked gold veins, and these have only been partially mined historically, again due to the low gold price at the time. So for us, what is our strategy here is we are looking, now that we're inside the mine, we are looking to continue systematic sampling, and the goal for us is to delineate enough resource for the first 3 years of mining. We are not trying to just develop resource for the sake of resource. We want to bring this mine into production as quick as we possibly can. So we have set ourselves a target of finding the first 3 years of ore, and then that will allow us to put in place a pilot plant and bring about production. And so the low-hanging fruit for us to consider is the old rock piles they left behind, which we've sampled. There's visible unmined veins that we can see in the tunnels, and just generally cleaning up the mine, you can recover a lot of ore. And so that is where the goal of the company. So to summary, Gubong is the second largest gold mine in South Korea. I should say to you that the company has been funded by management. People often ask questions about funding of companies. When we announced taking on the South Korean project in April of last year, it was the management that funded this project. and we still continue to fund this project because we believe that our market cap is not in line with the type of project that we have. And so we have not been reluctant to place money at cheap levels, and we've basically loaned the company money to progress the project. And so we're very excited about South Korea. We're very excited about the Gubon mine. And I think if you want to, if you have a portfolio of mining stocks and you want to add one to your list that is going to go into production or is targeting near-term production, where there's the opportunity of a long-term rise in the price, have a look at Bluebird. You can follow us on Twitter, Bluebird IR for investor relations. And anytime you see this on Twitter, it means there's an RNS coming.